Welcome back to the Out of the Rough podcast presented by We Know Fantasy. If you can't tell, we're both super excited to be here today on this fantastic Monday, and that is because it is Masters Week. We finally made it. It's been a long winter, a long time since the Open Championship last summer, but we're finally here. Major season upon us. We're here to talk all things Masters. But before we do hop into things, Jake, how we do today?
We're doing good. I mean, I was still getting over the sweat that I was pouring on Sunday over Akshay, but he pulled through for me. Denny McCarthy, huge shout out to him.
Yeah.
He grabbed that tournament and he almost had it. And I'm sitting there like Akshay is not doing anything wrong, and Denny is just making every single putt. But worked out. He chunked a 100-yard wedge shot, which was not on anyone's bingo card after seeing him stick everything close and make every putt. So I feel a bit fortunate for that, but a little extra money coming into Masters Week, so I'm feeling great, Nate.
Yeah, I was recording a YouTube video with a few other guys for our Out of the Rough YouTube channel. You can follow that Out of the Rough Pod, I believe it is, on YouTube. But we recorded a trivia there and kind of at the end of it. And when we started, there was kind of no hope of anyone kind of catching uh, Akshay, right? But as it kind of progressed, we were kind of all just live commenting what's happening in the background. And man, -8 on the back nine. And like you said, Akshay did nothing wrong. Like he shot -4 with a 5-stroke lead. Like you didn't think he'd be caught, right? And then all of a sudden, Denny McCarthy's there, ties, it goes to playoff. And then, like you said, after Brian was on the trivia, Brian from Fade My Play was on the trivia with me. And before this even happened, he said it'd be such a Denny McCarthy thing to come all the way back just to shake a shot in the playoff and lose. And exactly what happened, dude. He was in the chat. He was like, I told you, I told you. And if you want to look back at that YouTube video, it says it during that YouTube video. So it's absolutely hilarious. But yeah, another thing coming at you from the Out of the Rough guys. We have some trivia, some stuff, YouTube videos, things like that happening on our YouTube channel as well. Yeah, Jake, where can we find you on social media?
Yep, you can find me at the Jake Freeman on Twitter. Please give me a follow. I posted my article for this week, which you can find on weknowfantasy.com, or you could find it on my Twitter. I break down the DFS slate. I put 3 plays per selection, the highest owned guy, the lowest owned guy, and my favorite play in each section. I also did a full outright betting breakdown this week. So not just the player with the odds, which is usually covered in the DFS section. I did a full breakdown in my article of the outright plays. So be sure to check that out, whether you're looking at DFS or outright. I got everything for you there. But also, please feel free to join our Discord. Completely free to join, almost 200 members now. Going to be a very active week. Everyone posting their cards, their DFS plays, their Masters work pools, everything. Everyone is, chipping in, giving their 2 cents on everything. And, even if, like I said last week, if you just drop a player name in there, there's going to be a conversation started about them. So completely free to join. You can find the link in my article or on our Twitter pages to join there.
Yeah, be sure to visit WeKnowFans.com. That's where you can find my in-depth breakdown, just as Jake talked about there, of each and every week of the PGA, DP World Tour, and LPGA majors. But what I was going with that is, for the sake of time, we're not going to go through every one of our suggestions here. I also have 3 picks per price range as well, full betting card breakdown as well. But for the sake of time, no one wants to listen to us talk for 3 hours with the Masters. I mean, we already had an hour-long podcast breaking down the odds already released this past weekend. So for the sake of time, hop over to our articles. Both can be found right there on WeKnowFans.com. Same thing, DFS breakdowns, betting cards, all of that right there. Follow myself, Nate, on Twitter at WKF Be sure to follow We Know Fantasy on all forms of social media at We Know Fantasy. And yeah, that should do it. So let's hop into things this week. Of course, National Week, Augusta National. We are here at a tradition unlike any other, as the slogan says. It's kind of I see it as the official kickoff of spring, right? The Masters, the first week of April, weather is changing. I was outside a few times this past week in a t-shirt. Like things are looking up for us, and we have one of my favorite weeks of the entire year, especially the golf calendar here. The 88th playing of the Masters at Augusta National. Of course, it always comes with a plethora of storylines. Kind of I hate to keep pushing the narrative of live versus PJ, but no matter what major we're at, we're gonna see that, right. We're gonna have this for the media, everyone, that these live guys versus these PJ guys, and most of the time it really isn't that. Like the live guys intermingle with the PJ guys, vice versa. But there is that narrative. We have, I believe, 12 live guys in this week's field. On top of that, we have Rory McIlroy looking to complete the career Grand Slam, a Masters victory away from joining the list of, what is it, 5 other guys who've done it: Gene Sargent, Ben Hogan, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, and Tiger Woods, the only others to have a career Grand Slam. So Rory McIlroy can really cement himself as one of the game's greats if he is to claim victory this week. Jon Rahm, defending champion, going back to the live narrative. Not only is he defending champion, kind of a bigger chip on his shoulder after joining live at a $500 million paycheck. So not only is he coming in as defending champion, but with that on his shoulder as well. Scotty Scheffler, world number 1, just looking to complete or continue his insane play. The Players Champion, Arnold Palmer Invitational Champion, all of this, already won a Masters in a career. If he can make it 2 here and continue what's going on at an insane rate, and entering a stage of where this may be Scotty Scheffler's tour and everyone else is playing in it, I think we're getting close. If he has to claim the Masters this week, that is definitely the answer to that. We have a list of PJ stars looking to claim their first major, likes of Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay, Max Homa, Victor Hovland, Tony Finau, among others. Going back to the live guys here, among them we have Jon Rahm, Brooks Koepka, of course, Cameron Smith, Joakim Niemann, Justin Johnson, and of course Rahm and Johnson, former Masters champions. There's a list of them: Sergio Garcia, Bubba Watson, Charles Schwartzel, and Patrick Reed, all of the live tour, all former Masters champions. Bryson DeChambeau, Koepka, and Smith are former major champions, but yet to win a Masters. And of course, we also have a guy named Tiger Woods. Have you ever heard of him? He'll be teeing up this week. Last time won his 5th Masters in 2019. That was 14 years after his 4th in 2005. So we'll see what he can do this week. But beyond that, if we have a full breakdown here, we have 66 PGA Tour golfers, 12 live guys, 5 amateurs, 4 senior past champions, and we only have 1 DP World Tour guy. Usually there is a handful of slots reserved for the DP World Tour, but with the new agreement between the DP World Tour evolving into the PGA, some of the guys who technically are DP guys are on the PGA Tour. So only Thorborn Olson's the only full-time DP World Tour guy in this week's field. So moving on to Augusta National. I mean, I don't know how much I have to go on about this course. Like, we know what we're getting. We see this course each and every season. It's just, I won't say it's the same course. So they do some minor tinkering. The Dr. Alistair McKenzie design, the Bobby Jones redesign, traditional par 72, 7,545 yards. Like, we have amen corners and bent grass greens that are unlike any other green we see on the entire tour, with their sub-field filtration systems and blah, blah, blah. We know what Augusta National. I'm not going to go through the stats about this because we see this every season. If you're listening to this podcast, you have seen the Masters at least once before, right? You're not just stumbling upon some random golf thing here, but you've seen this course before. We've recently seen a few adjustments with, especially what was the par 5 13th, I believe they added 35 yards to 2 years ago to make that a little bit more challenging, Azalea as it's called. I think the only change between last play and this play, in the second hole, added 10 yards to it. Doesn't seem like much, but they're just trying to look for a way to add a little bit more bite. The par, or that second hole, is the easiest hole in the golf course. I mean, Augusta National's running out of room, right? There isn't much room there to keep expanding and trying to get longer over the years with today's ever-evolving distance off the tee. So 10 yards here, 10 yards there will be what they do to try to combat that. But yeah, again, we know what Augusta National is. I'm not going to go through every stat here and do what I do each and every week. Just know it is arguably the most pristine testament of landscaping that the world of golf has to offer. It is absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful, breathtaking, bucket list type of stuff. Someday I hope to attend a Masters at Augusta National. One thing I do want to mention, though, quick, is the weather for Thursday looks pretty bad. 100% chance of precipitation beginning at 10 a.m. Storms rolling in. No, the rainfall will begin early in the morning. Thunderstorms about 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. And the rain will continue afterwards before trickling out into the evening. If that forecast is to hold true, there is a real chance the first round doesn't get played on Thursday. and then we'll get moved back a day. I mean, we'll see what comes as we move on with this. But again, you have a 3 hour long thunderstorm in between an entire 100% chance of precipitation right now. So it's coming, just a matter of it does get moved by the time Thursday comes around. But yeah, I guess anything else about the field, storylines, course, anything you want to add here, Jake, about the Masters or Augusta National before we move on?
Yeah, I guess just one thing I saw on Twitter in the last 23 Masters, there have been 12 PGA Tour winners and 11 live winners from that are in the field. So that's another storyline. It's going to be up in the air between them. And also, I'm praying that they get some golfing on Thursday because I don't want to have to take Monday off or call in sick or anything because I can't physically, if I have someone in contention, I cannot sweat it out at my desk at work. So I'm hoping that we get some golf in or it somehow finishes on Sunday.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about that. Originally, I planned to take Thursday off to watch the opening round, but I guess if it is to be that, I'll be finding my way to work on Thursday and relocating my time to Monday if at all possible.
Yep.
Um, yeah, we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, let's hop into the meat and potatoes here, our DFS suggestion slash betting card. We talk about these guys as we go through here, but again, this week we only have 5 monetary categories per DraftKings pricing: the $10,000, the nines, the eights, the sevens, and the 6,900 and below. We'll go through here, talk about our guys, so and so forth. So, $10,000 plus, of course, we'll kick it off here with Scotty Scheffler, right? If Scotty Scheffler isn't winning, he is in contention. He's either going to be second, third, fourth, or fifth. Like, it's not like Scotty Scheffler's going to be 23rd this week, right? He's not going to be even 15th. I know the price of 12-1's a little pricey, but if you're getting pretty much a guaranteed top five guy, no matter what the ownership is, I feel like you got to play him, right?
Yeah. So I guess you can, right? In some of like the GPP or cash game contests, like for sure, if you're just going for double up contests, Scotty Scheffler is pretty much a free square. But if you're in that Millie Maker contest, this is one way to start off diversifying your lineup. Hope that Scotty Scheffler doesn't come in the top 10 by any means or by somehow necessary. So I'm playing a couple Millie Maker lineups. I'm playing a couple of cash lineups. So he's going to find his way into my cash lineups. He is not going to find his way into too many of my Millie Maker lineups. I can't avoid but to put him in at least one.
And no doubt about it. I mean, again, ownership's going to be insane. No matter if the price is 15,000, like they're going to be playing Scotty Scheffler because of what he's doing on the PGA Tour. And again, just one here 2 years ago. It's the putter that keeps Scotty behind. But again, he's shown that he can spike with it this year. He's won on these greens before. So is there really weakness to Scotty's game? Because really, the putter is what keeps him human right now. If he had a competent putter, he would win every time he touches the golf course. Like, there's no doubt about that, right? So
Yeah.
there is that. And then, of course, we also, I guess we'll see what happens here. But
Hang on, one more thing on Scotty Scheffler. So I think it's interesting. In 5 of his last 6 starts, he actually gained with the putter. And yes, he did win in 2 of those starts. But we kept saying last year, if he just putts to even, he should be winning, a lot of these tournaments. And, he is, I mean, it is a huge feat to win 2 in 6 tournaments. That's a big deal. But, I'd almost expect him to win 4 of those 6 since he's been gaining with the putter. But I don't know. Something just seems off. Like the putter finally is agreeing with Scotty, and he does have 2 wins in his last 3 starts. But I don't know. There's something that's rubbing me the wrong way about him.
yeah, I don't know if it's the distance off the tee because like he's just about even when it comes to distance off the tee. And, we know Scotty to be a long hitter off the tee. And I don't know if it's that. And, the long irons aren't cooperating as well. From like 200 plus, he's not too good there. So maybe it's those type of things keeping him, away that we don't really think about because we're just
Yeah.
so hyper focused on this putter being a decent putter. And it is like I've noticed he's gaining, and not like crazy numbers. He's gaining a stroke
Yeah.
here, a stroke and a half there, but he is gaining. And like you said, we talk so many times. How many times have the words of our mouth been, if Scotty Scheffler even gets to even on the putter, he's going to win this week, and he's doing better than that, and he's not winning. So, interesting point of information there. But let's move on to our play now that Scotty Scheffler's names out of our mouth, right? Of the $10,000 guys who are left, you have the John Rahms of the world, the Rory McIlroys, all of those guys, Wyndham Clarks, Brooke Koepka, all of them. Who are you playing, Jake?
Yeah, I'm going with the guy who I think is going to have the second lowest ownership in this range, and that's Rory McIlroy at 10,800. Everyone else is a Masters champion besides Wyndham Clark, who I think is going to be the lowest owned in this section. But Rory, coming off of a T3, he had a great Sunday at the Valero Texas Open. He looked primed and ready to go. He is going to be arguably the most motivated person in this field to get that
Has
career
to be.
Grand Slam, like we talked about. He gained just under 2 strokes per round on approach last week, which is awesome. Gaining with the putter, long off the tee. He could spray it a little bit, but that's not the end all be all here. So I think his game matches up well. I don't necessarily think he's going to complete the career Grand Slam or win, but I still think that he's going to have a top 5 finish this week and give you a little bit of a sweat and help your DraftKings lineup come Sunday.
Yeah, you know how I feel about Roy McIlroy, right? I don't think he's going to win this tournament. I don't think he's going to win anything of significant value moving forward. But again, he's going to give it his all. He's going to give a chase. He's going, like he said, he has the chance to cement himself as statistically wise, at least a top 5, top 6 golfer of all time if he is to win the Masters, right? He's that close with winning the PGA, the Open, and the US Open. So he is right there. And you mentioned the distance off the tee, or excuse me, the spraying off the tee. I'm trying to find the stat here. I know I have it written down. There's only a 10% difference in birdie or better percentages, depending on if you're in the fairway or if you miss the fairway. So it is not that significant if you miss the fairway here at Augusta National. I mean, some holes, golfers will be aiming to miss the fairway because it offers a better shot or a better angle into the green. So again, if you are to spray it a little bit, this is the course where you can spray and get away with it. Just wanted to mention that. But yeah, Rory McIlroy, super motivated. Like I said, I don't think he's going to win this event. But again, if we're playing here for diversity, or if you're trying to get off Scotty Scheffler, I think Rory's a good bet as well. Um, you know, the cheap thing here would be go Brooks Koepka, right? At 10-2, I have a future on him. He's major Brooks for a reason. He's going to come out here guns a blazing, point to prove. I mean, we look what he's done on the Live Tour. It's been nothing. Like, what did he do? Like +7 last week in Miami. He doesn't care, right? He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to play these live events. He just wants to play majors, and rightfully so. This is what he does. And after you've won as much as he has, why do you want to play, other tournaments? And it's like, for the money if you're on the PGA Tour, but he doesn't need to play for the money. So he just shows up and chalks it off as, hey, I'm here. Where's my check? I'm out of here. But man, last year, a T2 goes on to win the PGA championship at Oak Hill. Brooks Koepka, I mean, it's just hard to deny what he does here. And, again, runner up last season, he also placed T7th here in 2020 and T2nd in 2019. He has 2 missed cuts in 2022 and 2021, but that was during his injury riddled, his mental health crisis era that we can definitely chalk up because that was the big storyline coming to last season. And sure enough, a T2 right out of the gate. So I do like Brooks here. I think the ownership may be a little bit higher, especially being 10-2 with a T2 here last year. We just know Major Brooks. But if I were to diversify a bit, I'm going Wyndham Clark at 10,000. Again, don't think he wins this event because a debutant hasn't won this event in a very, very long time. I think it was 25-ish years, somewhere in that nature. Someone in our Discord posted that earlier, but I don't think Wyndham Clark wins it, but he's going to be there. Like, if it wasn't for Scotty Scheffler, this guy would be a Arnold Palmer Invitational winner. He'd be the Players Championship owner to go along with an AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am winner. Like, he is probably, statistically wise, the second best golfer on tour right now, to none other than Scotty Scheffler. And we're paying him at 10,000. I know the knock to his game is hasn't played here before. That's it. If you're looking at what Wyndham does, he does things extremely well outside of being a personable person, right? But everything you want stats wise. He's going to check the boxes. He's won a crap ton this season. It just hasn't played here before. And that's super important. Like, every article you read, every podcast you listen to this week, they're going to say the same exact thing. Like, course history is important here at Augusta National, and history has proved that it definitely is. But yeah, I think if you're looking to go cheaper and avoid some of the bigger names that are going to draw some ownership, I think Wyndham Clark's a great pivot point just because of the ownership alone, but just because of how hot of a golfer he is. And it's insane to me that a defending U.S. Open champion has never stepped foot on the Masters. Like, that's kind of mind blowing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually it's crazy. I can't believe that either. But you know, he grinded from the bottom, he got himself here, and look, I mean, he's a product of hard work, and you know, that's what's gotten him here. But you know, Wyndham Clark's going to be the lowest owned in the section, and we're not asking him to win the tournament, right?
No.
Debutant, like we're not putting outright bets on him. I'm not putting, I don't think either of us are putting on Rory either, but I think they're great DFS plays who can get you top 5, top 10 finishes at lower ownership. Then, you know, if Scotty Scheffler slips up and finishes T15 and you're playing Wyndham Clark or Rory McIlroy and they finish T5, T10, you're gaining on the field tenfold because of the ownership as well. So definitely something to consider. And like you said, and like I like to consider, when it comes to a generational talent or a guy who's just playing absolutely incredible golf, who says that he can't win the Masters, right? Like he's playing some absolutely incredible golf. So if you have a strong feeling about Wyndham Clark, I don't think it's the end all be all here that, you know, he's a debutant. I think that if you believe in his game, that he could do it.
Yeah, I guess if we look back, how often have we seen someone in such good a form as Wyndham Clark making a debut? Like we don't
Right.
hear of, a T2 the players, a T2 the Arnold Palmer, and a victory at Pebble Beach of a guy who's never played here before. Like a
Yeah.
debutant is usually a rookie on tour. Now this is a completely different situation. So you are correct in saying that there's a real chance Wyndham Clark claims his victory. And you also talked about the difference between DFS and outright betting. I mean, there will be several golfers when we get to my betting card that I'm on that aren't in DFS and vice versa. It's just a different game, a different way to look at things. But yeah, let's move on down here to the $9,000 price range. I'll kick it off here. We're going back to it. We're gonna do it.
Yep.
Xander Schauffele is going to win the 88th plane of the Masters. This is finally it. I don't know what it is about this exact week and this exact moment, but I tweeted out early this morning. I did my model and I tweeted that Xander Schauffele will win the 88th plane of the Masters. I mean, everything checks out. If we look at his stats, like in my model, he topped my model, and it wasn't just barely. Like it was a good significant difference between first and second place in my model, and that includes Scotty Scheffler. Like Scotty Scheffler, it's harder Scotty or model Scotty because he's like first in like 8 categories, and then he's next one's like 100th, and like whatever it was, scrambling or whatever it was. I mean, the guy doesn't have to scramble because he puts the ball within 10 feet every time he approaches the green.
Yeah.
But but yeah, Xander Schauffele, man, what doesn't he do? Approach phenomenal. And the weakness to his game, his career has been around the green. And what has he done this year? He's gone and become a top 10 around the green player. Like a top 20 putter on tour, a top 5, top 10 approach player. He's good off the tee as well, plus distance. Like, what else do we want from this guy? And, the history here at Augusta National, we can take his 2022 missed cuts throughout the window. You love to do this, Jake, right? Just take
Yep.
the one oddity and chuck it out. So we chuck that oddity of 2022 out. He placed at least T17th or better dating back to 2019 here at Augusta National. He placed T10th here a season ago. He placed T3rd in 21, T2 in 2019. On top of that, again, he's currently the best on tour when it comes to three-putt avoidance, second in tee to green, and bogey avoidance, third in proximity the hole from 200 plus. Impressive. Seventh in the green regulations, eighth around the green right there, 10th in par 5 average scoring, 15th in scrambling. I mean, what isn't there to like about what he has to offer this week? But yeah, I know he's gonna be a popular guy, right? He's gonna be a big guy, a lot of cards, a lot of DFS times, but I'm not gonna ignore it. I'm not gonna get scared away because of things like that. I truly believe Xander Schauffele will win this event. The demons of the players are be haunting him and how close he's been in past majors. I mean, he placed T2 here before. It's finally going to add up, and I think this is it. And I'm just kind of hoping this is more so me just trying to talk this into fruition opposed to
Yep.
my actual belief. Like, I mean, of course, we still have Scotty Scheffler and Brooks Koepka and all these guys in the field, but yeah, I'm gonna stand here on my soapbox and preach that Xander Schauffele is going to win this event, and therefore I have to play him in DFS.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you. Not necessarily with the win, but I agree with you that he's going to have an incredible week, right? I think his floor is probably similar to Scotty's, and that's I wrote it up as a T20, which realistically I think it's probably a T15 at worst for the two of them. Like you said, everything's just adding up. He's going to be the second most popular play in this range according to my projections. I think that Hideki at 9K flat
Yes,
is
easily.
going to garner the largest ownership just because of how incredible he's been playing. But I need to give a shout out here to my game theory play, and this is a guy that I never thought I would be talking about as a game theory play, but that's got to be Victor Hovland at $9,500.
Ooh,
He's been an
ooh,
absolute disaster,
yeah.
right? Really bad to start this year. The around the green woes are back. Just not just not good, right? I mean, nothing to really even talk about. He has a T19 at the Genesis, a T22 at the Century, and then some, three garbage starts middled in between that. But he's only made five starts on the PGA Tour. I have no idea what he's been up to. I'm hoping that he's in the lab, getting the around the green game back. The last time we saw him was at the Players where he lost a stroke and a half per round around the green. Everything else was positive.
Six strokes.
But just really bad. But you know what you're getting with Hovland, besides the around the green, plus distance off the tee, accurate, great irons, and a solid putter. I'm hanging my hat that he's been in the lab. He's been working on the around the green play because there was a second where we are like, he figured this shit out
Yeah.
and he's winning and he's doing it correctly. So I hope that he just went back to the lab. His Masters history here, he had a T7 last year, a T21 back in 2021, a T27 in 2022, mixed in between that. And look, the around the green game has never been there for Hovland, like especially around the Masters time, but he's gained in two of his last three Masters appearances around the green. I'm hanging my hat that, there's something about Augusta. He's been practicing the around the green play that maybe he can get something together. And you're going to get a huge discount in ownership because there's been no signs of life for that for Victor Hovland. So I'm going to plug my nose and play him in a few lineups this week.
I like that play a lot. I mean, what do we see him do in big spots last season? The PGA Championship, it wasn't for that, hit lip on the 15th or 16th hole at Oak Hill. He may have, taken down Brooks Koepka to win that. And what else he did in the season? He chased down Scotty Scheffler, who, had a large handicap lead at the PGA Tour Championship to overtake him and claim the championship last season, the PGA Tour. Like, he's been there in big spots and he's tuned it up and kind of seamlessly came out of nowhere to do this. I mean, we know what we have. I mean, this guy has superstar potential written all over him. This start of the season doesn't suggest that, but he's still Victor Hovland. He's still one of the brightest spots on the PGA Tour in the world of golf, let alone the up and coming guy. So, I mean, I love the play. I mean, the talent is there. I mean, I feel like Augusta National, the Masters, is one of those things you can kind of throw out recent form, right? You can
Yeah.
throw out a lot of things, and then they can still come and pop. I mean, Tiger Woods won this event in 2019. I mean, what else would to say about that? Sergio Garcia won in 2017. Like, that wasn't that long ago that Sergio Garcia won this event. We've had some very surprising, some random winners here at the Masters that kind of just we don't think about. So yeah, I love that play. Honestly, like you said, the ownership's going to be super minimal. I mean, your avid fan who
I'm
just
hoping
knows
sub 10%.
yeah, I have to assume, right? The form suggests that he shouldn't be owned over 10% by any nature. And if you are to run a model, he's not going to pop in your model. No way whatsoever. So maybe someone just on name value alone plugs him in. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see about that. All right, keeping things rolling here. We'll move on to the $8,000 price range where things get a little spicy here, in my opinion, Jake. Yeah, a lot of great options here, a lot of big names in some weird spots. I mean, all right, I'll let you get this one off before I dive into things. Who's your player in 8K? This is your preference to lead off.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with it's tough. I'm between two guys here. I'm gonna talk about Colin Morikawa.
Got to do it.
8,400. I just think that his game kind of matches up to what you want at Augusta, right? Like about average off the tee, distance wise, but extremely accurate. Elite approach, especially with the long irons. We talk about it week in and week out. He's probably one of the premier long iron players on tour. He's positive around the green, and he's actually even with the putter. His recent history or his recent form has been absolute garbage. I mean, his best finish in the last 3 weeks was a T45, which is, not good. But he did have some good form to end the 2023 season and to start the 2024 season. If I'm plugging my nose and playing Victor Hovland, I'm not afraid to do it with Morikawa, whose course history is better. In his last three appearances at the Masters, he's got a T18, a solo fifth, and a tied for 10th. So gaining across the board in all three of those tournaments as well. The recent history or the recent form hasn't been here, but I'm kind of just banking on long-term form to, come into shape at a place that you're, seemingly comfortable at.
Yeah, so he's one of my write-ups in my article this week. And same thing, like you said, I listed what he did in the past here at Augusta National, and I listed that he's not in good form. And heck, you know how big of a stats guy I am. I didn't include the stats in his write-up. I just said the
Right.
stats aren't. No, it's not going to tell you a story of who Colin Kaepernick is, or Colin Kaepernick. Geez, Colin Morikawa. Where did that come from? Holy moly, man!
That was awesome.
Colin Morikawa. Geez, man. Uh, it does not tell the full story of who Colin Morikawa is, so I didn't include them. But again, what you're getting is a premier ball striker, a premier iron player, especially with those long irons, especially what we see here at Augusta National, 200 plus. You're going to see a plethora of them. Colin Morikawa was a two-time major winner. I think people realize that, a PGA championship and the Open championship. Like, I guess, if the Masters is to come into play here and he somehow takes it down, we have a discussion to have. I mean, he left the two hardest ones to win left, but I guess you got to start somewhere, right? But I do love
Yeah.
Colin Morikawa this week. I think 8-4 is a great price for him. I mean, where else are you going to find a two-time major champion in the 8K price range, right? Like, I feel like that's a no-brainer. Maybe the ownership will be a little bit boosted because of but man, there's some great names around them. I'm going to go with my guy here. I'm going a guy I flirted about putting on my outright card. I didn't do it, but it's Tony Finau at 8-6. Again, just whatever he does here at Augusta National, he plays this course rather well. You wouldn't think so, but um, so dating back to 2019, he hasn't missed a cut at Augusta. So that's 6 events. His worst finish over the 6 events was a T38th in 2020. Again, COVID year, kind of throw that one out, right?
Yeah.
He placed T26th here a season ago. But beyond that, a T10th in 2022, T5th in 2019, and T10th in 2018. So he's got 3 top 10s in the last 6 years throughout COVID, 3 top 10s out of 5 events here at Augusta National. Knows this course, plays it well. Again, due to that, I was flirting with him on my betting card. Didn't make it there for me. But everything else there, I mean, we know what he does. He's a phenomenal iron player, phenomenal on the approach play. He's going to offer that, but it's the putter, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's so dreadful watching this guy putt because you're just like, how are you continuing to putt with a putter like this? Like, I'm a god awful putter, and I know, right? Level. Why is
Right.
your heel still sticking up? Or yeah, your heels down, your
Yeah.
toes up,
Oh,
other way around, whatever it is. Yeah, why is it still doing that? Like, you're a professional golfer. How's this not changed? But again, I was trying to look for some strokes gained data here at Augusta. The PGA website doesn't offer it, but I think it was Data Golf does. He has lost strokes at Augusta over his last 3 events, but very slightly on the greens. So that may be something to do with it. Maybe these greens, although these greens are super undulating, 14 plus the Stimpmeter, like, you think they'd be impossible for someone like Tony Finau to figure out, especially being as putter as he is, but he's somehow found a little bit of success here, I guess. I mean, 3 top 10s in the last 6 events here. You can't ignore that, right? So I think he's another one with some great ownership because he hasn't been in good form this season, right? He's kind of been non-existent, just kind of in the shadows. And, we all thought he would go on to win at Mexico. Didn't even do that. So
yeah.
ownership is a play here, 8-6, a fair price. I mean, per what I go off, I prefer Tony Finau, but man, at 8-4, it feels so much harder to, click Tony Finau when Colin Morikawa was only $200 cheaper.
Yeah, and I think Finau is going to be the most owned player in this range. But I think it's going to be close, right? There's a lot of guys who are going to be pretty heavily owned, but
Yes.
just another guy I need to bring up super quickly, Shane Lowry, AK Flat.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Great course history, going to be the lowest owned. He sticks out in this section. I couldn't help but write him up. He's going to be in a few of my lineups for sure, but in his last 4 appearances at the Masters, a T25, a T21, a T3, and a T16, and his recent form on the PGA Tour, a T4, a solo third, and a T19. The stars are aligning for Lowry to have another great week here.
I forget what season it was. I think it was 21. I hit him in a top 5 at Augusta. I forget what season it was, but he was there.
2022. Yeah.
Was it 2022?
Yeah.
Did I say 21? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I love that play as well, right? I mean, it's just so weird that a course just has so much history that we can just pinpoint who's going to be good here because of how they've played. Nothing to do with the recent form or stats or anything. We can kind of just look, oh, this guy has played 4 events here and he's going to be a top 30 guy this week. So super interesting and unique in what we do, because like 95% of what I do is what my model tells me, what my stats based model tells me. It puts out a number, I associate it with a golfer and level it with its odds, and that's where I go with it, right? But not this week. This week it's a little bit more interesting. And speaking of interesting, move on to $7,000 price range. And so I have 3 guys here. 2 of them will be, one of them may be the most owned guy in the entire field here. I know. I don't know if you're going to talk about him, but Sahith Theegala, he's going to be insanely highly owned. I mean, he's on my outright card. I can't ignore what he's doing. And the other guy, he's Siwoo Kim, again, a name I've seen on every one of their brothers' card, right?
Yeah.
He is littered everywhere. And God, I love Siwoo Kim. When we did our Mount Rushmore article, I mean, I listed him as one of my top 5 favorite golfers on the PGA Tour. Love the guy. But man, he's not going to win the Augusta. He's not going to do it. So it's interesting. But you know, a guy who can win at Augusta, it's Patrick Reed at 7-4, former winner 2018 here. Beyond that, he since his victory in 2018, he has posted 3 top 10s in 5 events following that. T8th in 2021, T4 a season ago, T10th in 2020. Again, like most we talk about who are actual contenders at Augusta or in majors, he hasn't been playing the best golf on the LIV Tour, right? Again, why would you? You get your bag, you want to show up to majors and compete. Why would you grind it out in Miami or Las Vegas or Mexico when you don't need to do it? So, I mean, he did have a better performance than Brooks did last week. At least he went like 12th at -6 or something like that. So not that end of the world. But again, I think Patrick Reed's going to be a high owned guy as well. I think it's going to be so hard because I feel like you can argue anyone in this entire field is going to be high owned. Again, 88 golfers.
Yeah.
If it was 127 or 144, like we see in some fields, completely different story, right? There's really nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to try to find an edge. You just have to hope and pray you put the right connection of people together in that aspect. But between the 3 I suggested, Patrick Reed would be the last owned of those 3 I talked about already.
Yeah.
And again, it goes to the fact that no one likes the guy, right? He's simply a douche,
villain.
right? No one likes the guy. I mean, I don't like him at all. I don't want to see him win. I have him on my betting card. I have him in DFS. Has a real chance at winning this golf tournament. We've been there, done that. So yeah, that's where I'm going with it. And I mean, I grabbed him at 80-1. I know I talked to you after our breakfast ball podcast. I think he was on like 65, so around there. And I said, I can't do 65. I got on this morning, checked the odds checker, and I saw there was one at 80, one of the books. I was like, you know, I've been talking about in the Discord, on the podcast, all of this. I'm going to play Patrick Reed. So I found the 80 number and I took it.
Yeah, you almost got to put your money at your mouth, where your mouth is at that point. And, you know, Reed has legitimate win equity at this course, right? You've covered that well. And, you know, he's actually been fine on LIV. Like his last 2 starts, one was on the Asia Tour, one was on LIV. He had a T4 and a T9 coming into here. So, you know, not so bad coming here. But I'm going with a guy that I spoke about on the Breakfast Ball podcast in Adam Scott at 7,100. Previous Masters winner, also has some decent form here, not as of recent, but over the long term. My favorite stat about Adam Scott at 7,100, you're getting a golfer who's played this course 20 times and has made the cut in 18 of them. That is what you're looking for in this low 7K range for DFS. Top that off with his form this season. And honestly, I think it's one of the biggest steals in DFS this week. You know, a T14 last week at the Valero. He didn't play great at the Players, he missed the cut at the API, but before that, a T19 at the Genesis, a T8 at the WM Phoenix Open, which are both elevated, you know, PGA Tour events with, you know, the best of the best on the PGA Tour there. Adam Scott also brings a great short game, which is what we're looking for at the Masters. He drives the ball above average in distance, and he's above average with the irons as well. He sprays a little bit off the tee, which we covered is not a big deal. But, you know, given the form and the history here, I couldn't help but get away from Adam Scott this week. He's one of my favorite DFS plays for sure.
What do we preach about when it comes to the 7K and the 6,900 below price range? It's making the cut, right? That's what we always say. We're not expecting this guy to win. If he does, good for him. But we're just needing him to get across the cut line to get those extra bonus points. Adam Scott, 18 of 20 events here, making the cut. Can't ignore that. That's a great play at 7-1, saving yourself a ton of money to get a guy across the cut line. Nonetheless, a guy who has won here, what was it, 13? Was it 13?
Yeah, I believe it was 2013.
I think so.
Okay,
I mean, still a decade ago, but man, the guys wanted
yep.
this event to go, and we saw with, again, not nearly the talent Tiger Woods, but 14 years in between victories. So anything is possible, I guess. So all right, so one more final price range here. The 6,800 below. There's no 5,500 below this week. The kind of, I guess, what would you do? You just put all the like those senior guys in the 5,900 below this week, because
Right.
no one deserves to be down there, right? These are all 88 of the world's best golfers in one place. So, yeah, a lot of great options in my opinion, Jake. I don't know where you're going to go with this one, but who is it?
Yeah, I'm going with Eric Cole at 6,600. I know that everyone is Eric Cole homers, so a lot of Twitter players are going to be on Eric Cole this week. He packs a great short game, right?
Yeah,
Super good with the putter, super reliable around the green, which we know is really important at the Masters. He's also above average on approach, which is great. Where Eric Cole tends to lose it is with the driver. Sometimes he gets a little wild, not super long off the tee. So that's where it's a little cause for concern, but at 6,600, you're getting a great short game player who not in the best of form, right? If he was in some decent form, I'd expect him to be in the middle of the 7K range or the bottom of the 7K range. But, two missed cuts in his last three starts. He had a great end to the 2023 season, which we all know about. But I just think he's a good option to have a solid week. I'm not looking for him to win, but I am hoping for like a top 30, top 20 to kind of build around.
yeah, there's two ways you can go about this event or this price range. Of course, you have the guy who models, kind of evenly help yourself get across the cut line, or you can really shoot for the fences and hope for a top 10, top 15 guy. I think Eric Cole's that safe top 30, 35 guy. You're not looking for Eric Cole to go top 10 or top
Yeah.
five at the Masters, right? But man, this is what you have to do in DFS. You have to start with getting a six for six lineup. Like that's the bare
Yep.
minimum if you want to even make your money back. I mean, heck, last week at the Valero, I had a 6 for 6 lineup and didn't make my money back. Like, how is it even possible?
Right.
How did I manage it? That's rather impressive. I feel like that's a hard feat to do to
Yeah,
get 6 for 6. And
that is.
considering I had a 5 for 6 earlier this season and I won like 5 times my money, like yeah, that was one I was kind of mad about. But yeah, I mean, Eric Cole has that equity to get you over the cut line, right, and then a top 30, 35. And honestly, that's fine. That's a great place to be. Um, I have a few plays here. Pavon's one of them at 6,900. I think he's
Yeah.
gonna be a popular guy, but a guy I'm really excited about, and how we talked about shooting for the fences. I'm going Jake Knapp at 6,600. What do we want from at Augusta? You need to be long off the tee in reality, and
Yep.
you have to come with a strong iron play, and that's what Jake Knapp does, right? We have a win in the season that got him here. It was in Mexico, weaker field, but hey, a victory is a victory to get you to the Masters. So who cares where it came from, right? But yeah, on top of that, he also made the cut in 7 9 events with a T3rd at the Farmers Insurance and a T4th at the Cognizant Classic go along with that victory. Making his debut, of course, this week. But he's 18th on tour in stroke team approach. He's 30th in average driving distance, 32nd in three putt avoidance, 42nd in tee to green, 46 approximately hole for 200 plus. He is he's plus on the green, 61st in strokes gained putting. There really is no super strong weakness. I mean, 109th in par five average scoring, maybe, but beyond that, man, you're looking at a guy who is top, let's see, top third, I guess you can say, on tour in both distance, approach, around the green, and putting in this price range. I know he's making his debut this week, and I'm not sure what his ownership projects to be at, but I can't assume it's going to be super high. So I love that play. That was my favorite play this price range. My model may have suggested, maybe a. I also have what Pavon and Eric Van Rooyen here, but I think Jake Knapp's my favorite actual play at this price range.
Yeah, where Jake Knapp could lose it, and it's similar to Akshay that we've been talking about week in and week out, is by hole 3, you know what you're
Yep.
getting. If Jake Knapp's driver is relatively accurate, like I'm not talking fairway every time, he can miss it by a yard or two or 5 or 10 even. If that driver gets lost, he loses it like 35, 40, 50 yards off the green, like completely out of control. And that's where he gets himself into trouble. So if Jake Knapp by hole 3 or 4, the driver is clicking, I'm expecting a big week from him. But, I just want to plug two other guys that I think are going to be absolute chalk in this range that you should 100% avoid, because the 6K chalk is not where you want to be. It's Denny McCarthy at 6,200. You need to avoid him at all costs due to what he did last week. He
Don't
looked
touch it.
unstoppable. He looked unstoppable. And he's, even if he does have a decent week, if he's, 6-7% owned, you're not gaining much on the field here. And Adam Hadwin at 6,600, super well-rounded golfer, great short game, is going to be super popular this week. I'm steering clear of both of them.
Yeah, I noticed that none of us mentioned Akshay either in this price
I
range.
was, no, I think he's in the 7K
No, I
range. I
meant
think
in
he's
this on
seven.
in this segment. Yeah, he's in the seven
Yeah.
Ks. But yeah, I mean, it's another thing that I'm steering clear of. I mean, his ownership's going to be through the roof with the victory last week. He's a fan favorite to begin with, and I think someone else in our Discord pointed out that no one has won the Valero and then or the week before and then won the Masters since Phil Mickelson in like the early 2000s. So another one of those crazy stats that may or may not hold true. But again, it definitely is a proven fact that it's definitely difficult to do.
Yeah, and look, I'm steering clear of Akshay and DFS, but I have my outright ticket on him because just on the fact that if he can hold any sort of form from last week, him and Denny McCarthy gained so many more strokes compared to the field that it was ridiculous. Like they would
Do you
have
remember
won
the
almost.
stat?
I can't remember it exactly, but it was like the two of them would have won almost every single PGA Tour tournament this year if they had that strokes gained data comparative to those fields. So the two of them really played lights out. And if he can hold that form, look, I think he's a world-class talent, a generational talent that if he can hold the form from last week, which he was trending in the right direction the whole time, a T17 at the Valspar, a T11 at the Houston Open, then a win at the Valero where he just went bonkers with everything, gaining, half a stroke with the putter per round, 1.5 strokes around the green, 2 strokes on approach, 1 stroke off the tee. Like those numbers are Scotty Scheffler-esque. And if he
Yep.
can replicate even half of that this week, he's going to have a great week and have a chance to win.
And let's not forget he's a lefty, right?
Yep, lefty. I wrote that up in my article. One of those things, and I made the reference here is when you're playing roulette in the casino and your number hits, they leave your chips on that number for a reason. You don't pick them up, right? I bet a little bit. I won a lot on him last week. I'm keeping my chips on Akshay this week at 100-1, keeping my few chips there. If he can keep it going and go back to back, I'll be the happiest guy ever.
Sure enough there. But all right, that's our DFS plays, guys, for the Masters. Let's move on to our betting card. I know there's a few guys we'll probably talk about with some added stuff here. We'll do a quick recap, but let's go through our 3 categories. We have our overall favorite. You can place 1 bet this week. Who would it be? You have our personal favorite, maybe someone we're on the communities out on, a personal favorite golfer, or someone with some great value. And of course, long shot, self-explanatory, longest odds you're on. So Jay, kick it off here. You have 1 bet for the rest of your life. What bet's that going to be?
It's got to be Sahith Theegala. I got him at 55. I saw 60s floating around. I think he's down to 50 or 45
I have him
now.
at 60 myself.
Yeah, no, it's a good number. I got 55 before it dropped down more, but his short game is elite. I would argue that he's the second most creative guy around the green behind Jordan Spieth, which is important here. Last year, he had that infamous chip in that was, reminiscent of Tiger. Sprays it off the tee, right? That's his issue, but it's not all the end all be all here. He's an elite iron player, an incredible short game around the green and putter. Insane course history here in his few appearances. Well, I guess his only appearance last year was a solo 9th place. Or what was it? Oh yeah, he finished 9th last year.
Yep.
So if he can build off of that and just keep his game consistent, that's where I'm going with my favorite play.
Yeah, I'm going Xander Schauffele. I talked about it that I'm fully on board with Xander Schauffele winning this event. And when I post that on Twitter, I got a lot of people telling me it's not possible. I'm dumb for placing my money there. He's going to do it. I mean, Xander's going to take it down and recoup some of my, I won't say hatred toward him, but my dislike toward him from what he did at the Players.
He owes you.
He does. I need to end this slow spell because it's getting to me. It's keeping me up at night. But Xander's my play there. I got him at 18-1 this morning. I think that's a fantastic number to have him at. All right, Jake, personal favorite bet this week.
Yeah, I think Brian Harman, I've seen him up to 65, 75-1 now. I used a bit of a free play, so my effective odds were a lot higher. So lefty at the Masters. And you know what I love the most about Harman, besides that he has a great short game, one of the best putters and around the green players on tour, is that he proved last year winning the Open that he it's not just that he has the capability of winning, he has the capability of running away and holding a lead in a major.
Yes.
So, at that number, it's hard to even get someone close to a resume that he has like that. So, he's also great on approach. Like he really packs a game that can play well. He's just short off the tee. So, that's the only bit of concern. But he's one of my favorite plays this week.
Yeah, I played him after our Breakfast Ball podcast. You talked me into it. 66-1 is what I got him at. So happy with that number as well. I mean, the latest major winner on tour, 66-1. I mean, come on now. Let's go for
Yeah.
it. All right, I guess I'm gonna go Patrick Reed here with this number, 80-1. I think it's a fantastic number, kind of a sweet spot where it's not like super long, where it's like, oh, that's kind of impossible, to a point where, I mean, this is a guy who's won this tournament. He's played extremely well here for so long, for 6+ years. He's churned out top 5, top 10 performances. I mean, a top 5 last season at 80-1. Come on now, that's my favorite play this week. Of course, our long shot of the week. What is the longest odds you are on? Is it Akshay?
No, actually, it's Henley. I got him on
That's right.
Friday afternoon at
110.
110-1. Yeah, I mean, 3 top 10 finishes and 8 starts this year, 4 top 20 finishes at the Masters. Elite short game, elite on approach. He showed some hope last week. The win equity is up there for question, but I thought the odds were more than fair on a guy whose game should profile well, and he has good course and recent history. So, taking my shot there at 110.
Yeah, mine. I mean, I have a future on Phil. I don't know why I did it, but I did do it. I mean, he plays T2 here last year. I mean, can you blame me at 135? But the real play here is Tom Kim at 120-1. Everyone knows my love for Tom Kim. He debuted last season to the tune of T17 or T16. Excuse me. Already a 2-time winner at tour by the age of 21. Um, he wasn't able to win the Masters at 21 as the Tiger Woods did, but why not do it at 22? I mean, like you said with Akshay, world class generational talent. This is the same thing that Tom Kim is. Tom Kim has that potential to be superstar. Akshay has potential to be superstars. They're just, I think we forget that at 20, 21, 22 years old that these guys are, you know how hard it is to win a PGA Tour event, no matter what the event is, at such a young age. I mean, the
Yeah.
prime spot for most golfers is 32, 33. So these guys still have 10, 11, 12 years to get to that point, and they're already winning. They're already doing this a long time before a lot of these guys, first time winners, getting their first win at 30, 31 years old. So yeah, again, Tom Kim, not the longest off the tee, but man, approach play, the putting can get a little iffy on him, but again, just a world class ball striker and just a fun guy to watch. I mean, we talk about this often, but just watching his master snippet from the Full Swing documentary season 2, just a child, man, just one of us,
Yeah.
just asking where the food is, wants to finish his chocolate bars, like yeah, I just absolutely adore Tom Kim. And 120-1 is a fantastic number in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he has 3 PGA Tour wins already. Akshay has 2 PGA Tour wins already. They're both, what, 21 and 22 years old.
Yep.
So world-class talents, and can't help but take a shot on these guys at triple digits. The player pool to win the Masters is super small, and, these generational talents might come up and surprise you.
Especially with 88 golfers. I mean, a 120 of guys who have won before, who are
Right.
generational talents. I mean, it's not impossible, right? It was not
Yeah.
144th with a random guy from the Corn Ferry that was the sixth Assumption coming up. Like these are real shots. But
Yeah.
you have any other players on your betting card that we haven't talked about through DFS or through this breakdown? I mean, I'll just kick it off. I have Will Zalatoris here,
Same.
44-1 on a future, placed back in the fall. Again, what he's done in his first 2 appearances here, solo second in a debut, and then followed it up with a T6 and 22, of course, withdrew from 23 with that back injury before surgery. But yeah, 44-1. I mean, have to do it right. This is a world class ball
Yeah.
striker. When it comes to approach play, I mean, Will Zalatoris is as pure and as, I guess you could put him in that glimpse of, back when he kicked it off, generational talent, right? Of Will Zalatoris with the irons in hand. Again, he does lack some stuff, especially on the greens, right? And everything around there. But man, just the approach play, the tee to green, par fives, he does everything extremely well.
Yeah, look, I'm on him too. And look, I don't love the narrative that he's a bad putter because, look, his 1 putt conversion rate is super small, but he is one of the best lag putters on the PGA Tour. I think his average distance to the hole is like 2 feet 1 inch on lag putts, which is incredible. So on on greens that are really hard and a lot of guys have trouble
Oh
figuring
yeah.
out. That's kind of where I love Zalatoris because he doesn't need to make a million putts. He doesn't need to make, get himself into a birdie fest. He just needs to find, grind out some pars, have some good lag putts, but also, convert when he hits those great approach shots. So I can talk about Zalatoris all day. I parlayed him with the Rangers last night and got him up to 50 to 1. That's my specialty. As you know, if you're in the Discord, I love doing that. But another guy that I have on my betting card that we haven't spoken about is Mimu Lee. I took him beginning of the season 80 to 1. Not my favorite play here. I think he's going to get
No.
way higher than 80 to 1 on a close, but I expected him to play a lot more. I expect him to play some better golf. It hasn't been so great. He has one top five finish in 7 starts, and then his next best is a T21 in his first event on the PGA Tour. So really no signs of hope on the form. Um, in his 2 appearances, he has a T14 and a miscut. I think he's a generational talent still, right? He's a world-class ball striker. I'm a believer in his irons, even though they haven't been there for him. He's very long off the tee. Packs a great short game. So I'm kind of hoping to just let him cook and get lucky, maybe, but I don't really endorse that play at this point, if you're just starting your card now.
Yeah, that's one of those things where the futures kind of bite you, right? I mean,
Yeah.
same sense with like Brooks Koepka, pay him at 17 to 1, assuming he'd open at like 12 to 1. But I guess the slow play on Live has put
Yeah,
him at
last week.
20 to start. Like, it's kind of still mind blowing that he opened at 20 and things like that. But yeah, and then Phil Mickelson's my last one. Again, I guess we're going with course history, 3-time winner here, T second last season. I mean, 135 to 1, I've spent $5 worse places. So that's my
Yep.
argument about Phil, right?
Yep.
All right, that sums up the betting portion of this podcast. That's about it. But before we do get off here, Jake, I need to ask you one very important question. I guess it's a few very important questions. I've been almost broke this out last podcast and you kind of held me back. But all right, we're going to put you in the scenario that you are the defending Masters champion. You're hosting the champions dinner. We got to go through what your menu would be. This is one of my favorite things to do. Kick it off here, and I'll go back and forth with you. What is your opening dish? What is your appetizer for those in attendance?
Yeah, I guess my opening appetizer would be. I haven't really thought about this too much, and I knew this question was coming, so it's pretty dumb on my
I was gonna say you
part.
had to
But
have known
I,
I was gonna ask this. I mean, I asked it in the podcast, I asked it on Twitter, or excuse me, the Discord,
I
Twitter
know.
last week.
I don't know. I'm more of a childish eater, I would say. I'm going more the Tom Kim route. I'm going with buffalo and barbecue chicken bites as my opener. Feels like an American staple. Everyone's going to be happy with that, and at least if they don't like my main course, they got something to eat.
Yeah, my debate was this: is like, do I fully embrace actually who I am and like go with like mozzarella sticks or like loaded
Yeah.
fries or nachos? But for the sake of this, try to class things up, I guess, in a way. I'll go with stuffed mushrooms with prosciutto, right? I absolutely adore
Yep.
those things. My wife's family's Italian, and her mom makes these things. I could eat probably 300 of these in one sitting, and I do feel absolutely ill after doing this. But I can download an entire tray of these stuffed mushrooms without question. Just popping them back and forth like they're potato chips. But that's where I'd kick things off. Then we move into our soup slash salad portion of the menu. Where are we going with that?
Yeah, if you know me personally, you know that my favorite thing in the world is soup. So I'm for sure
Okay.
going with a classic homemade chicken noodle soup, with extra noodles in there. Just a staple, a feel good home cooked meal there. That's my favorite thing in the entire world. If I could only pick one thing to eat for the rest of my life, it would be chicken noodle soup.
And I guess what type of noodle do you put in your chicken noodle? Is it like a skinny spaghetti, or are we going with like those thick egg noodles?
Yeah, the thick egg
Yeah,
noodles for
that's
sure.
that's the only way to do it. If you give me one with like those spaghetti noodles, no thank you. I want the thick egg noodles.
Yep.
The extra wide, I think, is what my wife does in ours.
Yep.
So absolutely love that. I do like some soups, like a good cheddar broccoli or like a creamy tortellini, something like that. But I'm gonna opt for a salad. And one of the things that, I've recently lost about 65 pounds, and one of the things that have allowed me to do that was my love for this Southwest steak salad. Very simple to salad with like corn, beans, some cheese, steak bits, and tortilla strips with a chipotle dressing. And I probably eat that 3 or 4 days a week, even to this day. I've done this for about a year now. So I guess to homage to my recent weight loss, I have to go with that as my salad to kick things off. And then the big hitter, the entree. Jake, where are we going with this?
Yeah, I'm going with your staple surf and turf, 8 ounce fillet, lobster tail, with a little side of some sort of potato of your choice, either mashed or fried or like French fries. My favorite thing in the entire world is surf and turf.
All
So
right.
besides chicken noodle soup, entree wise, a good steak and a good piece of lobster can't go wrong.
So I'm a bit odd. I don't eat seafood at all. I don't eat anything from the water, none of that shrimp, lobster. I mean, the last time I had seafood is when I went to Maine, just because, kind of like
Gotta.
when in Rome, right? It's not like I'm
Yeah.
allergic or anything. I just do not like it whatsoever. I can't get on board with a good fillet, right? But I guess a lot of the Masters champions like pay homage to their homeland and their heritage and stuff. I guess I got to pay homage to the fact I'm a sheep farmer. Have to go with a nice braised lamb chop or lamb shank, I guess we should say, with a nice mint jelly sauce on the side. That's where I have to go, just because I mean, I'm sitting here right now. I guess I'm saying this about eating lamb. I'm staring. I can literally see the sheep stare at the barn at me, right up here in the corner of my eye. But man, nothing. Man, I'm such a big fan of lamb, and
Yeah.
it is such a slept-on meat. Some people I meet that are like, "Oh, I don't think I've ever had lamb in my life." I mean, I guess a little bit different. I grew up. My grandfather was a sheep farmer as well, so we had lamb at the wazoo. I've had
Yep.
every form of lamb my entire life, but I absolutely love it. I can never have enough of it, and a nice braised lamb shank can't be beat at this point.
Yeah.
So that leaves just one thing: the dessert portion of your menu, Jake. What are we
Yep.
offering on dessert?
Yeah, I discovered this dessert maybe a year ago, and now if it's on the menu, everyone knows that I automatically order it. It's affogato, so
I
a
don't even know
nice
what that
shot of
is.
espresso. It's a shot of espresso poured over a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Just a classic. It is so good. If you're a coffee lover, you cannot go wrong. If you haven't had it, you need to try it.
Yeah, like I said, I've never heard of it, but I do consume a large amount of coffee each and every day. Um, I do have. I'm not. I guess technically I am lactose intolerant, even though I can brave through it, right? So ice cream does give me
Yep.
fits, but I can do it if I really want to, and put my mind to it. I can achieve anything. But no, yeah, I'll think of that to try sometime. But man, speaking of this, I say that I'm intolerant to dairy, and I'm going with a nice piece of New York style cheesecake. Probably the worst thing to eat for a dairy intolerance. But I could eat an entire cheesecake and I would deal with the illness I would feel afterwards. I Probably my favorite food in the entire world over anything is cheesecake, a nice New York style. And I personally eat mine plain, but if I do get a little froggy, I do with a nice salted caramel drizzle. So I'd offer that on the side as well. So yeah, that'd be my menu if I were to win the Masters, which luckily for everyone else, this menu will not come to fruition anytime soon.
Same here. Same here. A lot of people are probably going to listen to this and be like, "What the hell do these guys eat?"
But yeah, that's it, Jake. The best week of the year, man. Sometimes Monday morning, the alarm goes off, you flip over in bed, punch your phone, you're like, not again. But this morning it was a little bit different. There was something in the air, right? The alarm
Yep.
went off, and I kind of just sat in bed. I said, it's gonna be a good week. You know why?
I,
Because it is Masters week.
I usually snooze my alarm until 7:30. I was up at my first alarm at 6:30 in the
I was gonna
morning. I
say,
was
man, you
ready to
posted
go.
super early in the Discord, and I was like, wait, did Jake get hacked or something? Because it was like, yeah, 6:30 or something. You were posted in Discord. I'm like, there's no chance. Yeah, because I get up at about 4:30, and typically I don't see you for a little bit in there.
I woke up and was ready to roll.
That's awesome. I mean, I had the same thing. I barely slept last night for whatever reason. Couldn't fall asleep till probably 1:30. I woke up at 4:30, so I'm on a few hours of sleep even to this point, and I'm still just fired. I mean, I had enough coffee today to kill a small horse, to keep me going. Um, but here we are, guys. It's fun. We have a lot of great golf, not only this week, but man, we have PGA right around the corner. We have signature events at the Wazoo. I know we're both going to be the Travelers Championship. Looking forward to that. Seeing some of these
Yep.
guys in person. Um, Beyond that, U.S. Open, the Open, all that great stuff, man. The golf season really is just. This is kind of like the
You know,
kickoff of golf season. I know we've had the players. I know we've had some signature events already, but I kind of see this as like the official kickoff. And man, it is going to be a good one. But Jake, before we do hop off here, where can we find on social media?
Yep, you can find me at DJ Friedman on Twitter. I'll be posting my article, my outright plays, some of my DFS stuff, all that stuff. So be sure to give me a follow. If you've reached this point in the podcast, thank you so much for listening. I know this dragged on a little long, but Nate and I are bursting at the seams here. This is the best week of the year, which we've talked about. If you've listened to this podcast, or even if you just came across us and have any sort of question about any player, any nugget of course history, DFS plays, outright suggestions, be sure to join our Discord. 200 coming up on 200 members in there. Great community there. We talk about everything. So be sure to join there. Completely free to join. And also, please be sure to check out my article and Nate's article. We both worked super hard on these. But our full DFS breakdowns and our outright selections can be found there, as long as links to our Twitters and the Discord.
I need to hop on Google and just try to find myself like a master specific trivia on the East Coast, because the amount of masters content and information I've consumed between my article, like 5,000 words I put out there today, on top of hosting the Jeopardy on our trivia on our YouTube page, like the amount of masters information I have in my mind right now needs to be capitalized on. I need to go find a bar trivia somewhere with master exclusive content just so I can get this out, maybe capitalize and win myself a couple $100 at a bar trivia somewhere. So listen to this and there's a master specific trivia this week. Hit me up. I'll meet you out there. And I promise you, I have way too much information about the masters in my mind right now. But yeah, you can find myself Nate on Twitter at WKF Nate. At WKF Nate. Piggyback off what Jake said. Be sure to check out both our articles. A lot of work goes into this, a lot of behind the scenes that you guys don't see. I know you see the articles, and most of the time you just scroll through, see who our picks are, and that's about it. Or you hop on the podcast, maybe listen to 10, 15 minutes of it. So much work goes in this each and every week, man. Waking up early, late nights, all this stuff we put out there just to, again, put out some free content for you guys to consume. So again, if you're like Jake said, if you're at this point of this podcast, for one, thank you. It is great that there are people who are willing to listen to us just ramble about the Masters, ramble about the Valero, Texas Open, just random events. People tune in these things to listen to us, Jake. How wild is that?
Yeah. It's honestly, it's so much fun. I mean, we both do this as a hobby, not as a profession. So, putting in the time and having a lot of people listen, reach out, join our Discord, it means a lot.
It really does. It really does. But all right, guys, that's it. The Masters week. Follow We Know Fantasy on all forms of social media as well. Until next time, guys, we'll see you.